am I about? And what's my philosophy? We're going to build through the draft. We're going to acquire young, fast, and physical football players. We're going to be selective in free agency, and we're going to connect evaluation with valuation. We're going to have a relentless approach to fix our weakness. We're going to maintain great self-awareness of who we are. We're going to solve problems with open communication and candor. And we're going to consistently put players in position to succeed. And the last thing, the most important piece, is we're going to take the North and never give it back.
Woo!
All right, Darius, I'm sure as a Bears fan, that got you pretty excited for the next season.
Yes, I like it. I like it a lot.
You like it?
Yes, I heard it. You know, a lot of other sports shows this morning talking about, maybe he's stepping too far ahead. Look, as a Bears fan, I never heard a GM of ours speak like that, or a head coach. And like you say, you're definitely really excited about this. One thing I always said about Matt Nagy was he didn't have enough discipline, and that's one thing you kept hearing Matt Eberflus mention, discipline and, being consistent and saying the goal is to always be in the top 5 in penalties. And, if you go back and watch a lot of Bears game, you'll see the Bears drive down the field and the drive stalled out from, a false start or holding. So I believe definitely if you eliminate those type of plays, you can win more games. And, that press conference, what I took away from it, both of these guys are getting the first chance to be a GM and a head coach, and they sound excited about it, bringing a lot of passion to the Bears, and I'm here for it. Can't wait to see what type of moves they make this offseason. I like the philosophy of building through the draft. That's one thing that I don't like to mention them, but Green Bay always did, was build through the draft. And I believe once you find good players in the draft, you can build a good roster.
Yeah, Jalen, what do you think about that Bears press conference yesterday morning?
I would have to agree with Mr. Jefferson to my left here. No, but you have to be excited going forward. They definitely do seem like, even though they're technically rookies at what they're doing right now, they definitely seem to know what they're talking about. So it is good to see that, they're very disciplined. Yes. You want to use that word?
Very.
Very disciplined. They seem passionate about what they want to do. I think that's what separates Eberflus from Matt Nagy from the past season. He just seems like he's more passionate about the job and just about being a head coach and just about getting this team, his organization, back to winning ways. So it'll be interesting to see what they do, especially saying they want to build through the draft.
Yeah, that was one thing. Everybody was mentioning, should they go offensive or defensive? One reason I wanted them to go defensive is because defensive coaches always preach discipline and consistency and hustling to the ball, and that's all you heard Matt Eberflus talking about. Sorry about that. And you know what? I can't wait to see, because when Lovie Smith was head coach of the Bears, he was a defensive coach, and the Bears lived on turnovers, and you saw the Indianapolis Colts do that the last few seasons under Eberflus. The last 4 years, top 10 in defense. The last 2 years, top 5 in defensive turnovers. So, with a lot of great players already on the Bears defense, hopefully they could retain a few of those guys. And I can't wait to see what he could do with this bunch. Like Justin Fields was talking about. Justin Fields was asked about, them hiring a defensive coach, and he say he's excited about it because Eberflus could show him, what the defense is actually thinking and trying to do to him. And I definitely think that's going to be a huge part of developing Justin Fields, to get him to understand what the defense is trying to do.
I actually never saw it like that. That is pretty good, actually.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting quote. Take back the North and never give it back. I think they should focus on a winning season first. But
whoa. Now I'm just playing.
Green Bay didn't like that at all, huh?
Hey, they haven't won the North in a while. I think it's a bold statement.
4 years.
Yeah, but that was a 1 year thing. That wasn't established.
But they beat Green Bay to win the North that year. So
didn't Brett Hundley beat you guys that 1 year?
Oh, Yeah.
All right, we'll stop with the Bears-Packers talk. It's strictly to the Bears talk.
Yeah.
Since I do not want to talk about my Packers.
Man.
So, yeah, I think it's a good hire. I think, when he was initially hired, my first thought was this is the next Lovie Smith.
Yeah.
So, when you talk about a guy, I don't think that's a bad thing. Lovie was a good coach. He's now down in Houston.
Yep.
He led them to a Super Bowl. So I think if you combine that with a good GM, which I think Ryan Poles is, yesterday in his press conference, he sounded shy, which is, I think, a good thing for a GM because you don't want him to be too vocal.
Yeah.
Which I thought he was very good at. Because, I'm going to compare this to the Packers just because that's what I know. Brian Gutekunst does not talk to the media. He does his, 2 press conferences a year, pre-draft, post-draft, post-free agency. That's it. That's all he does. So I think if you have a guy that stays away from the media, and Ryan's a smart dude.
Yeah.
He was through 3 regimes in Kansas City, and those guys normally bring in new people. So to bring in somebody new, or to bring, to keep Ryan, obviously they needed to think they had something there. It's been announced today that the new defensive coordinator, obviously Sean Desai, was announced today that he will not be returning to the team next season. It is returned that the defensive coordinator will call the plays on defense, which I thought is interesting just because
I love it.
Yeah, Matt Eberflus has called defensive plays in the past, but I think it's a smart idea. If Matt Eberflus is going to succeed in this league, I feel like it has to be the same role that Sean McDermott has, where he just watches over everything, make sure everything's going right, be a great leader, which I think he has a potential to be. And I think Ryan Poles can bring in the right people, the right pieces to build.
Yeah, most definitely. Like Matt Nagy, that's one thing he didn't do. He wanted to call plays and see over everything, and you could see that that playing out because he was his clock management wasn't up to par because he's trying to do 100 things at one time instead of focusing on everyone and just passing the offensive play calling off to the offensive coordinator fully. I just think it was Matt Nagy's first chance to actually call plays. He didn't do that under Andy Reid besides 6 games. So when he actually got his team, that's what he wanted to do, and I think that was a downfall to the Bears. But the Bears also hired a new offensive coordinator from your team.
Yeah, I think Luke's an interesting hire just because we were talking about this earlier. You can't go off he's a quarterback's coach, so you kind of got to go off quarterbacks. The good news is he's under he's an offensive guy.
Yeah,
learning under Matt LaFleur, who's a great offensive mind, who learned with Shanahan and McVay. So he's kind of, starting from that tree.
Yeah.
But the issue is Jordan Love didn't look fantastic in 6 quarters. Mm-hmm. And it is only 6 quarters. That's all you have of Jordan Love NFL tape. You have 2 quarters from a Lions game that he didn't think he was going to play in, and 4 games against the Chiefs defense who was hot at the time that he looked sketchy, but they blitzed every single play. They were bringing 6 or 7 every single play.
That's what you do to a rookie.
Yeah, exactly. It was smart.
Get in his head.
Smart. Bring everybody. Bring the house. And they did. But I think Getsy's a good hire. It's a good young offensive mind, if that's obviously what they were looking for. If you don't go get someone like Eberflus, then you have to get a young offensive mind like
that's what
Getsy.
That's what I wanted them to do. I heard he got some head coaching looking.
Yeah, so he was actually interviewed for the Broncos job. Obviously, they went and get the other offensive coordinator for the Packers, Nathaniel Hackett, which I think is going to be a pretty decent hire.
They trying to get Aaron Rodgers there.
Yeah, they're trying to take him. We'll talk about that later, but I will give you my opinion on where Aaron Rodgers needs to go. Speaking of great quarterbacks, one of them just retired today. We'll give our opinion on that retirement coming up next on the 300 Club on SportsTownChicago.com.
This is your home for sports. SportsTownChicago.com.